Sunday, we're going to be keeping an eye and an ear because right here on Sports Radio 105.7 The Zone, we are your home for Cincinnati Bengals football. And they're a little bit of a Bengal Buckeye thing going on with the drafting this year of Billy Price and also Sam Hubbard. The Bengals open with the Indianapolis Colts. Our friend Marisa Contipelli of Bengals.com joins us right now. 3-1 in the preseason, Marisa, and I know that doesn't mean a whole hill of beans about anything. But what was the feeling of Marvin Lewis and the team? Did they get done what they wanted to get done in the preseason? Is there optimism going into this game against Indianapolis?
Matt, there is a lot of optimism. I think overall the preseason went about as well as the Bengals could have hoped, especially on the offensive side of the ball. We've heard so often that they want to play fast, they want to play up-tempo, and it was something that we finally got to see, especially in games 2 and 3 this preseason. Andy Dalton spoke with us yesterday, and he said, they like where they're at. They're feeling comfortable. They're feeling confident, and they're just ready to get out there on Sunday against the Colts and really show them what they can do with this offense for 4 quarters. So
John Ross, 0 catches as a first-round draft choice last year as a rookie, but he started to flash, Marisa, in the preseason games and during training camp. How much of a part of the offense might he be this year?
Well, when you have the speed that John Ross has, obviously the Bengals are going to want him to play as big as a part as he possibly can. I mean, there's a lot of expectations, high expectations for him, and that's not just coming from John himself, who has said that, he's put 2017 behind him, ready to turn that new leaf over into 2018, but the likes of his fellow receivers and even Andy Dalton have said that, they expect big things from Ross, and like you mentioned, we were able to see flashes of that during the preseason, and you really hope it translates over.
What about Billy Price? Earlier this week on the morning show, Bruce Hooley and Chris Spielman had Dave Lapham on, the radio color voice of the Bengals, and he talked about how solid of a guy Billy Price has been, everything they wanted. I know early in camp he was having that snapping issue that was a little concern. That seems to be ironed out. What are they feeling about Billy Price headed into the season?
If you walked into the locker room and didn't know that Price was a rookie, I don't think you would be able to tell. He just has that leadership and that persona that comes across that he's been an experienced NFL veteran for a number of years, but in reality, it's his first go-around. So I think that is a very good sign coming from the rookie center. And, you mentioned that the issues he had with snapping the football, those have been taken care of. I know a lot of it was with the second and third strings, and that was something that Price had said that, he hadn't had a lot of time of working with some of the other quarterbacks. He really was only working with Andy Dalton early on in camp just to make sure that him and Dalton had kind of gotten that relationship established. Visiting with Marisa Contipelli, Bengals.com. Again, the Bengals open against Indianapolis coming up on Sunday. You can hear it right here on Sports Radio 105.7 The Zone. Flipping to the other Buckeye rookie, Sam Hubbard. By all accounts, sounds like he had a tremendous camp. They got a lot of depth on that defensive line, kind of like, Sam was accustomed to at Ohio State, rotating guys in and out. That D-line for the Bengals and Sam Hubbard, how does he fit in, and is there a rotation up front? You have to think, Matt, that maybe defensive line depth is following Sam Hubbard around a little bit. Now, while he's listed second on the depth chart just behind Carlos Dunlap, expect to see quite a bit of Sam Hubbard. I know the coaches just love what they have seen from him during camp in the preseason. They said he's further along than Michael Johnson and Carlos Dunlap were in their rookie seasons at this point. So they have just loved what they've been seeing from the former Buckeye. And you just talk about that depth on the D-line: Dunlap, Billings, Atkins, Johnson. Then you have Hubbard, Willis, Carl Lawson. Pick one of those guys, and the Colts offensive line could be in for a very long day, especially with Andrew Luck coming back for the first time since 2017. How important to the Bengals organization was what they got done last week with the extending Dunlap and Geno Atkins? That obviously must have been top of mind for them. Oh, that was absolutely huge. And, it really puts to bed that storyline that it was done before the season got it started. You don't have to think about it as the season progresses, that Dunlap and Atkins kind of have clear heads. Dunlap was telling us that, it's nice to have that out of the way. So now the clear focus is just football going forward. And, it's really nice to hear that both of them wanted to get deals done with Cincinnati, that they both want to finish out their career as Bengals.
The Bengals had that run going where they were making the playoffs, and we know they've struggled in the playoffs. But the last couple of years have been down years. What is the team saying about? Is there, I don't know, Marisa? Is it a chip on the shoulder, whatever cliche you want to use, motivation? What are they feeling? Because they had it going for a while, and then the last 2 years have not gone well. What are their expectations within that locker room going into this year?
Well, I don't know if I would necessarily say it's a chip on the shoulder. I know every time the last 2 years are brought up, the guys are past it. They just want to focus on 2018, and every expectation in that locker room is to not only make the playoffs, but to win the AFC North. This team is very confident and has that belief that they can achieve that this season. The word rebuild, not anywhere in their vocabulary. They are all about getting to the playoffs, winning the AFC North, and really proving a lot of people wrong, especially national media.
I mentioned John Ross and, him flashing a little bit. Now, Joe Mixon isn't in the same category because, John Ross didn't do much of anything last year. Mixon had moments where he looked pretty good. Again, I think this preseason was a guy that, quote-unquote, flashed a little bit. What are their expectations now for Joe Mixon as a running back going into his second year?
Well, of course, the expectations are going to be high for Mixon, and, it benefits him to have a guy like Giovanni Bernard also in the backfield. They complement one another, kind of can feed off of each other. But you have to love Mixon's capabilities, too, in the passing game as well. I know we saw it in one of the earlier preseason games where he kind of juked out two defenders on his way to a touchdown, almost looked like video game-like moves. So you just knowing what Mixon can bring to the table. And Matt, honestly, having a revamped offensive line is only going to help both Mixon and Bernard. I know the run game struggled at times last year just because they weren't able to get any openings. But this year it's going to be something at least I'll be looking for come Sunday, just how the offensive line handles that pressure, handles that first game, how they gel together, and what kind of pockets, what kind of openings they can create for the running backs, along with giving time for Andy Dalton.
Well, obviously that was a focus of the offseason, right? I mean, the trade for Cordy Glenn, the drafting of Billy Price, they have kind of revamped up front. I would imagine they feel good about it going into the season here, Marisa.
They certainly do. And another name to put out there on that line that's going to be starting on Sunday is right guard Alex Redmond. It's going to be his first NFL start, kind of won this job this preseason. And he's a guy that I'm intrigued to watch just to see how he handles it. He's such like a physical and like dominating presence. I know at times he's been caught with offsides calls. Hopefully that is not an issue on Sunday, but he is someone that's been really talked about this week amongst the coaching staff, just the excitement to see him actually out there on the right side of the line.
Last thing, and that is he didn't make the roster, but they brought him back on the practice squad, Chris Worley. So maybe he'll get an opportunity down the road, whether it's with the Bengals or somebody else. But another former Buckeye that was there, Marisa, you have a pretty solid training camp and preseason for Chris?
I think he did. Unfortunately for Chris, there was so much competition at the linebacker position this camp. But, you like what you saw from him throughout the course of preseason and training camp, and it is a good sign for him just to be able to sign on to that practice squad. That's how a lot of guys get their start. I mean, you work hard, you get in with the coaches, and you never know when an opportunity could arise, whether it becomes an injury or you're just playing at that point where, one day you do make the 53.
All right, Marisa, thanks for taking a few minutes. I know you're busy getting ready for your first game. We'll be looking for your stuff on Bengals.com. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.